What's going on, YouTube? This is your Melanated Warrior, Haywood Haynes, and this is another installment of Facts Over Feelings. Leave your feelings at the door so we can get to the facts, and we right back at it. I want to give a salute and send good energy and good vibes out to you melanated gods and goddesses, and I hope that you're doing well in these very trying and challenging times, right? And I just want y'all to walk with me for a second. You know I'm gonna get right into it. At least give me a second. Give me a second, because I know a lot of y'all are impatient. Some of y'all don't even like dealing with a brother because y'all, a lot of y'all have a hard time proving me wrong, so you be upset, and then so you wait for any little thing that helps for you to press that dislike, whatever. I'm not into the likes and dislikes. You're not gonna hear me saying smash the like button, get the likes up, none of that. That's not what I'm all about, because I feel like if I'm giving you the right information, you'll be compelled to share. You'll be compelled to press that like button on your own. I don't have to tell you to do anything. I think you're grown enough to know what to do. You know how this platform or how this app operates. So I'm not finna sit up here and do little things like that. But one thing that I want to say is I get it now. I really do get it. I took the time because I keep my head in books. I'm a solitary individual. I don't try to be. I do my best to try to go out there and interact with people. I mean, I do, but I just don't really have too much in common with people, so I stay to myself. But I took the time to navigate through those treacherous and volatile community conscious waters, and I seen what everybody was talking about. It's just so many corrupt, vile, and arrogant, narcissistic, just chatty and divisive individuals on these I couldn't take too much of it. Now I get why most of our people are they stuck, like they don't want to even get involved. They like, all we hear is, and I get, sometimes you do have to call people out. Trust me, because we have to weed these individuals out. But really all I see is people just clout chasing, not necessarily like you going after, and not in the sense where you're going after people in order to gain notoriety, but just, I think that's so much more focused on the division than anything else. Like when I go after people, it's because I'm tremendously upset that they would even attack the chosen people. That's where my passion comes into play. Nothing more, nothing less. I can care less, man. I'm just not into the numbers. I'm not. That's why you don't see me with an Instagram, a Facebook, none of that. I mean, I hardly come on here. I come on here when the spirit, the spirit motivates me, and the Most High wants me to relay information to y'all. That's how it's cut. That's how I always be. See, the information that I pride myself on giving you guys is the same, as the information that has to have utility. That's why I pride on giving it to you. If you can't use it, then why am I relaying it to you? I'm not into wasting your time. The things that I do, I don't have to lean on the people. The Most High had given me the gift here so that I can be more independent. I don't have to trick you out your money. If I give something to you, it's to help you. This is the thing. Like I said, I just see why people, and we love to get into these debates. So I'm just going to dispel a myth, because just to show that a lot of us are not digging deep enough, and because we don't dig deep enough, we end up, like I said, we get into these conflicts where at the end of it, we're worse off than when we were before we even engaged. Now, I want to give a shout out to Albert 432. Fam be on his research. He be digging. Because on the video before last, I had asked you guys, I said, I had mentioned it quickly. I didn't pause, so maybe I should have given it a little bit more time to show you that I was placing a lot of emphasis on it. But I said that I gave you the term encephalotides. And then, of course, it probably would have popped up encephalitis, because remember we were talking about the mosquitoes, how they, dispersed them all across the continent. They act like, or the so-called continent of the United States of America. But, they act like they just did it in Florida. Now, everybody is suffering right now, because we know that, a lot of people have hit me up and said, look, man, these mugs is coming out in the daytime. We don't get a break from these mugs. So, but they told us from their plan it was in Florida first, a billion mosquitoes, and they said that they were also going to release 1 billion in Texas next year. Now, the thing that should strike you, alarm you, is that now you wanted a reason. Then they gave you a reason. What was the reason? The reason they said was, because we wanted to combat malaria, and we wanted to combat dengue fever, and and what these insects spread usually. And then so, like I said, most of the time, what happened? We didn't do our research, and we didn't ask. Okay, well, those diseases are not really big here in the States. Matter of fact, when you go on the CDC's website, on average, 2,000 people a year get infected with malaria in the United States, and I think somewhere around rounded it off to about 6,000 individuals with dengue fever in the United States. And the incredible part about that figure is that the vast majority of those individuals are those who come from traveling from places like Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. So not only is that number small, the vast majority of that number are from those who travel. So you telling me you releasing billions of mosquitoes to combat an illness that only infects thousands of people? Less than 5,000 to 6,000 people, collectively less than 10,000 people annually? You know, it even was, the conflict with the Senator Rand Paul, I believe his name is, and Dr. Fraud, and they were talking about, they titled it, the controversy centered around the concept of gain of function. And what he was saying was, he said, well, okay, you were in your lab, and then you were concocting this weapon inside of those walls that would allow for increased transmissibility. Okay, make it more virulent, and then he says, oh well, yeah, it's harmless. It'll show you there in the document. Of course, like he said, of course it's harmless. That's how it starts off. It's harmless for humans, but you created it to where it could jump species, and then it was like, well, just in case it jumps species, then we would know how to handle it. It's not going to jump species unless you create it to where it can jump species. This is the type of insanity. You are dealing with an individual who told you he is obsessed with his own, with destructive forces. Not just annihilating you, but all the species on the entire so-called planet. Remember what we said, he is articulating this as a sixth wave of extinction. It's one of those things. Remember when I took off that video that I showed y'all because I was talking about who, who, because he was talking about what. Anytime, people talk about my people, of course I get a little bit passionate, man, and I want to, bring them to smoke. And the fact of the matter was, I had a lot of people, which you already knew, they was going to come to his defense because, when you have a personality, it's easy to create a cult following. Look up how many people who have claimed that they're the next coming of Jesus and actually have congregations of people that follow them. I mean, we already know that, Jim Jones got niggas to drink Kool-Aid. It's Jim Jones out here that can get you to drink the Kool-Aid. There'll never be a shortage of dummies on this planet. Trust me. So, I never trip about that. The fact of the matter is that it always surprises me that these individuals feel like they're going to somehow encourage you or influence you to stop reasoning or using a sound mind and to ignore the data that's being put in front of you. How can you operate within a system that is saying itself that it is dying? How can you encourage me or influence me to, in order to be a male or alpha male or do this, you got to do this? The system is saying it's dying. I want to read a couple things. I want to read a couple articles, man. All right, this is in Fox News. It was published July 14, 2021. All right. Douglas Murray responds to research saying civilization will end this century. Futurology has flawed history. Author says futurology is flawed because the future is affected by advances and changes to the status quo. Now, even the counter argument is silly because then you want us to believe that these beings in power have our best interests at heart. Like they're in their lab trying to combat or they're trying to avert disaster, which they want to be brought forth anyways. We have to trust in the same people that's caused the problem in the first place. So we already know, like, even when it comes to climate change, like look at their reason. I'm gonna show you how. This is why I said this is why it's so dangerous. But before we get into that, I want to also give you a article by CBS News. CBS News. It was July 15, 2021, by Sophie Lewis. NASA: moon wobble in orbit may lead to record flooding on Earth. Every coast in the U.S. is facing rapidly increasing high tide floods. NASA says this is due to a wobble in the moon's orbit, working in tandem with climate change-fueled rising sea levels. The new study from NASA and the University of Hawaii, published recently in the journal Nature Climate Change, warns that upcoming changes in the moon's orbit could lead to record flooding on Earth in the next decade. See, this is why I said to you, now we already see the record flooding all over, and we know a lot of people who know, what's understood not be explained. We already know about the modification of weather. They've weaponized weather too as well. But we don't have to go too much into that. But we're showing you that they're letting you know this is what's going to occur. You know why? Because they have the weapons in order to make it a possibility. They have the weapons in order to make it a possibility. So that should be no surprise to us. So the point that I'm trying to make is this, is that when we have these individuals who sit up here and talk about, you sitting up here theorizing that, or hypothesizing that, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, like it's going to be the end of the world. I'm thinking, like, what is these niggas looking at? What is wrong with them? Can you imagine if you really love your children? Now think about you all in these conflicts. You can't get into a good relationship. Where's your man? Where's your woman? I don't even know. I mean, if you have children, most of these people who are running around maybe don't have children. But if you have children, if you have a son, a daughter, or sons and daughters, can you imagine going in their bedroom as you watch them sleep and looking at them, thinking about a day to tell them that they may not make it to 20 or 25 years old? Not because they might not be healthy, but because it may not be a planet for them to live on. Are you that selfish? Are you that... What is wrong with you? Let me tell you, like, look at the holes in their arguments, because what did the so-called Martin Luther King say? He said it is couched in their language. If you cannot understand what you have read, you cannot read. Now we're gonna go to another one because I got a lot of information to cover, and obviously I want to try to get through. I just always have a lot of information to cover because for some odd reason, like I said, man, a lot of people just don't get it. Now this was from Inside Climate News. Okay, the title of it is, I'm gonna read it off to you. Planes sampling air above the Amazon find the rainforest is releasing more carbon than it stores. Look how... Let's read. By Georgina Gustin, July 14, 2021. Over the last several years, researchers have said that the Amazon is on the verge of transforming from a crucial storehouse for heat-trapping gases to a source of them. A dangerous shift that could destabilize the atmosphere of the planet. Now, after years of painstaking and inventive research, they have definitively measured that shift. In a study published Wednesday in Nature, a team of researchers led by scientists from the Brazilian National Institute for Space Research reported results from measuring carbon concentrations in columns of air above the Amazon. They found that the massive continental-sized swath of tropical forest is releasing more carbon dioxide than it accumulates or stores, thanks to deforestation and fires. Who's doing the deforestation? Where the fire's coming about? So now they're blaming Mother Nature for something that they're doing. So what are they going to do about it? They're going to try to replace it with artificial trees? You see, now Mother Earth is to blame for their fuck-ups. Do you see how insidious and dark and vile and wretched this being is? Look, let me tell you something. Remember when it said NASA and the moon wobble? Remember I told you that they ruled by the moon's energy and all the phases that the moon goes through. Imagine if the sun had to go through phases. If you seen the sun with half a light, and we know that nature couldn't operate if the sun went through phases, because we see the 4 phases that that we see that we have to exist through, that is articulated by seasons. And when the sun is the furthest away from us up here in the northern hemisphere during winter time, what happens? Death. Death comes about. So we don't need our sun going through any phases. But see, the moon is this lunar energy. This is like I told you where the term lunatic comes from. These people are lunar people. Did you know? And I'm finna drop some facts on you right quick. And we're finna get right into the heart of this segment because I know a lot of y'all are waiting on that. You're probably telling me to speed up, but I am. Trust me, I'm gonna get to it. But this, you have to trust me. I have to lay the foundation. I'm gonna give you a fact. Remember, and I've always given you nothing but facts. These are lunar people. This is why your day of the week starts on a Monday, Moon Day. You know, a Sunday is the end of the week. They have put the lunar energy above the solar people. This is one of the reasons why they put their flag on the moon. They're showing you symbolically what type of energy that they resonate with. Even when they elect their president, all the way up until, when the 20th Amendment was passed in 1933, starting, and I think it's in 1937, 1957, 1985, and also in 2013, the inauguration fell on, because they changed it. Remember, the inauguration used to be on March 4th. Now, March is also, what is March? March is the month that is dedicated to the god Mars. See, we already went over the fact that Mars was who? Mars was the god that had sex with Rhea. Rhea had birthed Romulus and Remus, which was the founders of Rome. Okay, according to the myth. Because a lot of you are too technical. Act like this happened for you. That's the myth. Okay? And so they changed it to January. January is the Roman god Janus, the two-faced god. All right, the god of doors and transitions, knowing the beginning and the end. It is like this duality, the beginning, the end, barbarism, civilization, hate, love, etc. Two-face. Okay, and then so the inauguration is on what? January 20th. And so when January 20th falls on a Sunday, they wait till that Monday or that Moon Day to do the public ceremony or the public ritual. They will never do it on a Sunday. And like I said, in 1957, 1985, and also in 2013, and I believe also in 1937 too as well, that's when it occurred. It dropped on a Sunday. And they waited. They did a private ceremony indoors, and they did the public ceremony outdoors on the Moon Day. They're a moon people. And so remember, Janus is the two-faced god. All right, remember when you go back, this goes back to the Batman symbology. Bat in the moon, and then you know that one of Batman's enemies is what? Two-Face, the god Janus. Sorry, I may be going a little bit too deep for a lot of you cats, man, who really probably ain't, who not really there right quick. So we dealing with the fact that a lot of us don't think that, are we black? Are we black? You see what I'm saying? And so what you have to understand is that these people are running around, and this is ambivalence that I want to highlight, because they're both right and wrong. Now, how are they right and wrong? Okay, you're right in the sense that we are not a societal construct. Black is not a color. It's not a color. It's only a color through a societal construct, through politics. But according to physics, black is not a color, because black absorbs all the wavelengths of light. It absorbs all the wavelengths of light. See, these are what's called spectral colors in physics. All colors, like, blue, yellow, red, they have a wavelength that you can measure. Black does not, because it absorbs all the wavelengths. That's why you as black people, you get hot when you get in the sun, or your temperature increases, because you're absorbing the full spectrum. And white in physics is not a color either, because it is reflecting all of the colors. So it has no wavelength. You are dealing with beings that don't absorb the spectrum. Therefore, they burn in the sun. Look, come on, man. Let's get to it, man. We about to get to it. We about to get to it, because like I said before, man, you're dealing with individuals with compartmentalized information. Seattle PI, Education Science by Serm Mermsum. Okay? White as colors in physics. Visible light, radio waves, X-rays. And I want you to remember this, they're detailing the electromagnetic spectrum, because remember we talked about the electromagnetic spectrum, and what is it? You have radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, UV, X-rays, gamma rays, in that order. It goes almost from wavelength till it gets, increases in energy. Okay? Visible light, radio waves, X-rays, and other types of radiation are all part of the electromagnetic spectrum. Visible light is electromagnetic. Now remember, they're talking about visible light. So remember, they're crafty in how they frame this. Visible light is electromagnetic radiation with wavelengths ranging from roughly 400 and 700 nanometers. In physics, a color is visible light with a specific wavelength. Black and white are not colors because they do not have specific wavelengths. Instead, white light contains all wavelengths of visible light only because it's emitting it, not because it's absorbing it. Black, on the other hand, is the absence of visible light because it's absorbing it. So be careful how they try to mislead you, right? Definitions of black and white. The correspondence of a color to a specific wavelength is called spectral color. White and black are excluded from this definition because they do not have specific wavelengths. So again, once again, I've already told you, we are not a color in terms of societal, like, oh, that's a black person. Like, yeah, you know, as far as how we have to identify within the socio-political framework, of course they're going to say that was a black man. But in terms of when I call black people, I'm talking about from the metaphysical standpoint. So all y'all doing, we not a color, we not crayons. Nigga, do your research. Don't come to Heru with no half-ass shit. Some shit that you don't even bother to research or dig deeply on. I am talking about through the metaphysical. That's why I said when you're dealing with alchemy, this is what I deal with. I don't deal with that socio-political jargon and bull crap. Y'all be sitting up there on my channel like, why are you calling us black people? Because we black from a metaphysical standing, not from a societal construct. Let's move on. Also, this is one thing that I want you to keep in mind. It says, how do we experience color? Now, this is what they're talking about. This is what they say. Remember, I told you there's no such thing as a Blanco scientist, but we're going to entertain their logic for a second. When we see color, because we're going to prove them wrong with their own logic. When we see color, we experience light of that wavelength reflecting off an object or emitting from it. For example, when light from the sun shines on your blue t-shirt, the t-shirt absorbs all the light other than the blue light. The t-shirt reflects the blue light and some of it reaches your eyes. Black is the absorption of all visible light. This is also why your black t-shirt is hot on a sunny day. All of the colors of visible light are absorbed into a black object, heating it up. This is what they call in physics black body radiation. Why are they so consumed with this concept and you trying to run away from it? Look, we're going to go to a video right quick. Just play a little bit of it. Just play a little bit of it. Hold on 1 second. 1976 Copyright Act, like we know, Section 107 is purposes of fair, allowances for fair use for the purposes of education, not just education, but scholarship, research, and overall here at the FOF Squad, just waking your ass up. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just trying to get to it. So we're gonna just play 56 seconds of this right quick and get to it.
Hey, I'm Diana. You're watching Physics Girl, just relaxing here in the shade on this beautiful summer day. Isn't that right, Derek?
Yeah, that's right, Diana.
Okay, but you're not needed for this video yet, so you just chill. So a couple months ago, a few guys got in touch with me and told me that they had access to a UV camera. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Basically, it's a camera that allows you to see the world in ultraviolet, which meant a few things for me. It meant that I could see what this looks like in UV. I could see what your face looks like without any lotion or makeup on in UV. And I could see how sunscreen shows up on your face in ultraviolet. And so I said, yes, please do come visit me in San Diego and bring your UV camera. And so
see, in ultraviolet. See, that's a step up above visible light. You see what I'm saying? And then I've showed you these videos already. And then under this camera, we still look black. But when they put sunscreen on, they're putting on an artificial form of blackface. You see what I'm saying? To help them to absorb the sun, just as much as they have to use cows in order to get the vitamin D because they can't be out in the sun long enough to absorb that, the part of the spectrum that they need to get the vitamin D in order to make strong bones, because we know strong bones helps you to make what? Strong blood, because the blood is made in the bones. So, this is one of the things that I wanted to get across to you guys is that, that's the meat of it. In terms of a societal construct, no, we are not black. But in terms of metaphysics or the metuneta or chemistry or alchemy, we are definitely black. So shut it up. If you don't know nothing about this, stop coming on my channel talking that garbage. Do you know who sent me? Now, this is the thing, because I wanted to get to it, because I wanted to show you. Remember we talking about I wanted to get off into, the spiritual side of things and understand. Like, look, if I was to sit up here and tell you that it was, and this is the type of sorcery that they use. They make it appear that it's something that you have to search for. That's why they build all of these temples and organize, and congregate with one another and act like they're keeping something from you that you need to know. But I told you that the secret is in the vessel. You see, so when you're taking a look at the brain, one of the things that you have to understand is that it's phenomenal. So if I was to propagate it as this. Like if I told you, I was like, man, if you go in these woods, I can give you a map. You go in these woods, and if you find this artifact and you consume it, or you use it and consume 100% of it, it'll turn you into a god. Most of y'all probably like, where I gotta go? And yet, that is the brain. So I remember the old saying was that if we only use 10% of our brain, but then they've already came to a new conclusion where they've stated that you actually use 100% of your brain, but you just don't use all of it at the same time, right? And so the reality of it is that you want to be able to use that brain. Now we're gonna take a look at a picture of the brain right quick, because I want y'all to show how amazing that this brain is. Now, right there we see the brain. Now this is what's called the cerebral cortex. Now this is a part of the cerebrum. All right, the cerebrum is the largest part of the brain. It is the upper portion of the central nervous system. Okay, now the cerebral cortex is just merely the superficial covering, or the outside covering of the cerebrum, and it's split into 4 lobes. You have the frontal lobe, then you have the parietal lobe, you have the temporal lobe right here, then you have the occipital lobe. Now right here you have the cerebellum. Now the cerebrum is a lot of people use the cerebrum and the cerebral cortex interchangeably, but the cerebral cortex is a part of the cerebrum, because the cerebrum also contains what's called subcortical fixtures, which subcortical just means beneath this cortex, or this covering, which is like the hippocampus, the basal ganglia, and the olfactory bulb, stuff like that. Okay, but when you dig deep inside there, guess what you see? Guess what you see? You see, and I'm gonna enlarge just a little bit. You see ventricles. You see, these are the lateral ventricles, and it's in the form of a C. You have one on both sides of the hemisphere. Now, these two hemispheres are separated by, obviously, that line called the central sulcus, and it's connected by something called the corpus callosum. But these ventricles are openings, or cavities, where cerebrospinal fluid is pushed through. All right, which is made by the choroid plexus, but it shoots this, and then so you have the lateral ventricles. Then you have the third ventricle right here, right? This is where the pineal gland and all that stuff is at. Then you have the fourth ventricle down here. So you have these tunnels inside the brain, shooting through messages, connecting with you. You're sitting up here asking. Now notice. Now this is why I said this. You are dealing with the people who look this up for yourself, say that they know very little about the brain, and you have a brain. You're asking the wrong people. Know thyself, and you shall know all the mysteries of the universe. That's why when you meditate, you ask the brain questions. The brain can tell you. It knows how to operate itself. Just like, this is one thing I try to get to understand people. Okay, what if you're in a relationship, right? And you pay all the bills. You clean the house. You take care of the children. You take care of. So if this person leaves you, you damn near like, good riddance. I didn't need you. So think about it. The brain does all the cooking, all the cleaning, pays all the bills, literally makes sure all the lights are on. And then you die and leave. The brain's like, good riddance. Because if you notice, they can keep the brain active after you die. They have marginalized this vessel. Why they think they be chopping up organs and take your organs out of your body when you leave the vessel? They have contaminated your mind. Talking about from dust you were made. This is a light vessel. It is the secret. That's what you need to know. Now, before I get out of here, I also want to show you guys how good they are at manipulation, because I just wanted to show this right quick. I just got a couple of seconds. I got a couple of minutes to show it. Yeah, so we're going to get right into it. We're going to get right into it. Hold on one second. Let's get into it. 1976 Copyright Act, Section 107, allowance for fair use for the purposes of commentary, criticism.
Some energy
Let's get into it.
Actually paid to cut off power during the freeze. Marcelo Benito has more on these troubling findings.
5 months after a deadly winter storm left millions of Texans in the cold and dark, we've learned the official death toll now up to 210. KJU-11 energy expert Ed Hurst says it could continue to climb.
ERCOT grid is a serial killer right now. Nothing they've done since February gives me any comfort that we'll make it through August or even through next February.
Now a new report released by researchers at UT Austin gives us new information as to what went wrong in February.
The study just simply confirms that the grid has not been maintained.
The report says generators tripped offline at temperatures well above what they were supposed to withstand. ERCOT underestimated demand forecasts by about 14%, and ERCOT's weather forecast fails to accurately pinpoint the timing and severity of the frigid weather.
I don't see how they could not have failed in a more spectacular fashion.
Adding to public anger, researchers found 67 energy producers, mainly natural gas suppliers, tasked with providing fuel for power plants, were paid to shut down at the height of the winter storm.
This is just unconscionable behavior. Why ERCOT?
67 of the companies that were for gas that were supplying to these power companies were paid to not come. So how credible was the argument of hackers? This is what I'm telling you. So when I'm telling you about these floods coming, and when I'm telling you about that, they say, oh, this is the end. But they're making it happen. It will be by design and not by nature, because nature don't operate like this by its design. That's what you need to know. So when you get these brothers and sisters out here always in a rush to argue, I get it. Because you haven't looked deep enough. I get it. But one of the things that I want to tell you is something that you need to do. Do this for me. Do this for me, black people. I want you to go in the mirror. And I want you to do something, to say something that maybe you've said a lot of times to a lot of people, but you haven't said to yourself. And I want you to take your time when you say it. I want you to look yourself in the eyes. And I want you to say those 3 powerful words which motivate a lot of people to do things or go above and beyond for you. I want you to tell yourself, I love you. See how much it changes you. Because nothing is going to give its secrets away to you if you do not love it first. You think the brain will give you all these secrets if you don't have love for it? Every day you cursing it. Every